but we just have to keep track of the people who need help and where they need help and try to respond to that as best we can and try to be as ready as we can for the next time when it turns cold and times when it's warm again. I mean, we have a situation in Toronto now because of the prevalence of people with mental health issues who are not getting places to have themselves looked after, because of the challenge we face with affordable housing. And we can't solve these things alone, but we've sure got to keep working at making sure that we solve these problems and solve them not in the short term, but in the long term, so that people can have long-term security in terms of their housing.
Things you'd have done differently looking back.
Well, look, you always wish you could foresee, the future in terms of the weather or in terms of the influx of refugees that are taking up a substantial number of the spaces in the shelters. And I say that with no remorse about the fact those people were welcome to our shores and are going to make great Canadian citizens. But some of them have stayed longer than might have been expected as they integrate into Toronto society. And these are things that, we have to take into account and continue to monitor so that we can make sure there's shelter for everybody that needs it, and that's the objective we've been trying to achieve in all of these days. And I think we've done well at making sure that everybody could have a place to go during very extreme, unprecedented weather conditions.
Mayor, can you tell us about some of the permanent solutions that you're talking about when it comes to the city's homeless?
Well, right now, I mean, I would say number one is supportive housing. People with mental health issues, of which a substantial percentage of those in the shelters have mental health issues, are not getting the care they need, and they are not getting the support they need in a shelter. And the reason that they're in the shelters is because there are not supportive housing units and people to support them in their mental health challenges. The second thing is affordable housing generally. We are meeting for the first time this year, in all the years since the city set its target, affordable rental targets set by the City Council itself. But we missed a number of years where we didn't meet those targets, and we've simply got to do more with the private sector to build more affordable housing, and we're going to do that. And then finally, I think we have to work with our partners in the federal government to make sure that refugees are going to be getting some more and different help with their housing. It's not better for them in terms of their integration into Toronto society to be living in shelters. That's not the best way for them to integrate, and so we simply have to do better working with the other governments. All of these things are partnerships with the other governments. Toronto by itself cannot do that by itself, and so we won't. We'll do it in partnership with these other governments, and we're meeting with some of the ministers this week to discuss that.
Mayor, you usually host your skate party at Influx Square. What do you hope to achieve by hosting it here in the Benway Trail?
Well, actually, we've moved the skating party around the city during the time I've been mayor. We had it in Scarborough last year, Nathan Phillips Square one year earlier. I want people to see this Bentway. I mean, this is a fantastic thing, an extraordinarily generous gift from the Matthews family, something that is going to be programmed so people can come here and have fun year-round. It's not just skating, it's going to be biking and walking, and there's going to be arts performances here. It's going to be a fantastic park showing that in a space underneath an expressway like this, if you use a bit of creativity and some determination and some generosity, you can do very special things with spaces people might have looked at before and just said, what's going on there? Nothing. And so I'm excited about this.
What makes this skate trail so innovative?
Well, I think what's innovative is where it is. I mean, it's underneath an expressway and it winds around through these columns, which actually create quite a majestic space. And I just think it proves that in an area of downtown where there's a huge population of people living that don't have adequate open space, you can do something clever and creative and give them a place to come, give people from across the city a place to come winter and summer. And I think that's what we have to do increasingly, is use our imagination to find ways we can create the open space people need in a big city.
Mayor, as the weather changes now from the extreme cold weather alerts we've been having, we're going into warmer temperatures. We saw the Wellesley Community Centre turn from a respite centre back to a community centre. Are some of the respite centres going to be turning back into what they are originally meant for?
We are going to take this on a one day at a time basis in terms of what's sort of open and what capacity we have, with the bottom line objective not changing one bit. And that is, we want to make sure there is shelter available for anybody and everybody who needs it. And that is what we've been trying to do all this time during this unprecedented extreme cold weather, and we'll continue to do that. And so we will take it on a day-by-day basis and have the capacity available to make sure everyone who needs help gets help.
Was the city caught off guard by this?
I think that it's one of the things where sometimes it's not as easy to determine exactly where you need to have a shelter at a given point in time, which part of the city, or exactly how much capacity on a given day. And look, it is a continuous learning experience. I mean, we didn't expect to have the influx of refugees be as big as it was over the fall. We are looking to find new ways to do better with people who are suffering from mental health issues, and those people are taking up a lot of the spaces in the shelter, and I'm not critical of them. They have nowhere else to go. And so we have to, all governments, do better at all of this, and I'm determined on mental health, on refugee care, and on people needing affordable housing that we're going to do better, and we're going to make sure people get the help that they need. Thank you very much.
Thank you.